Greetings, dear precious spirit soul that you are. The weather's been changing, getting cold. Just, because we go through changes, but everything's different too. It's the same and different all the time. And my topic, because it's very timely, is why I gave up being a celebrity. Now you think, well, who are you? No, celebrity means you've got a lot of people interested in you. You can sell a lot of magazines. You're in where everybody is famous, and you're world leaders, and you're with your movie stars, and you're with your directors and your producers and showbiz. And it was really interesting to me because I'm an observer. I'm a witness. I'm a what would you call it? I call myself a spiritual sleuth, because I'm looking for clues, and I'm watching, and I can notice what's going on and what's happening. And when I had my television ministry in the 80s, and then there was an article about me and my work on the front of the Wall Street Journal, because being a prosperity minister. But to me, prosperity was not about money. It wasn't about how much stuff you had. It's an attitude of abundance rather than scarcity. And it doesn't mean, and it wasn't about not respecting the earth and all that. But yes, I also, I grew up in the culture of movies. I grew up in the culture of that kind of a theater. And so it was big for my mother, it was big for us as children. And also all of these kind of visuals and movies and even internet or anything that's working with us and we're perceiving it and we're involved, it's also predictive programming. It's a hypnotic trance. And it's a great way, also, bad way, great way, but to, the more people that watch something like that and get it and identify with it. And then, of course, we wanted to, that looked like the great life, because the movie magazines and, the beautiful women and the men, and then it was the drinking, and there was the smoking, and the sex, and then, and now you look at where it's gone now and all of this kind of stuff. And so, of course, that looked appealing, and it also looked appealing that, because it was really weird. It was so programmed into us. And yet at the same time, there's nothing wrong with talent shows and, in high school and college and just out there. I was when I was first married and living in La Cañada, I joined the Newcomers Club. That was great. And this was before I, did ministry and television, all that. And I was studying and learning and being a suburban housewife and a mother. It was great. Anyway, the Newcomers Club. And so then we were in a singing group called the Skylarks, and my dear friends, it was all of that's wonderful in the real nature of it. Because I remember when I was a kid, you go to people's houses and you would sing, or it was even so-called Halloween was not about the evil and the wicked and the just nasty. Because it was more like you'd dress up as an angel or a fairy or as a hobo or a clown, but in a nice way. And so all of that kind of a thing. And so it was very interesting. So what I did, and also I have to tell you, as a prosperity kind of a minister and all of that, prosperity and abundance was something I got many years ago through my study of metaphysics. And it was really to take the metaphysical, or another way to understand teaching, so that whatever great teachers brought forth, it was in all religions and all paths, you looked to, well, how do I apply that to myself? How does that work for me? And so the natural thing was I began to look at, I wanted to live an amazing, great life. I wanted to be loved and appreciated. I wanted to help people because, I knew what I had been through and everything. So when you get also as my, then I entered as a housewife, I entered the Mrs. America pageant in 1968. And I was the last Mrs. Pancake of America, and I was third runner-up in Mrs. America, Mrs. California. But it was a homemaking contest. So it was a 10-day pageant in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and so 50,000 women, housewives throughout America, had signed up, to do that. So anyway, so then I won Mrs. Pancake of America, and I had already, through my studies, I decided what I wanted to attain. And I got the feeling of it, and I wrote down, I wanted what would help me in my future work, which I didn't know was going to be a television minister. I didn't know it was going to be someone who communicated through the media or anything like that, just like I'm doing now. So, and then I wanted to be able to travel, meet wonderful people, great event, whatever all that was. And it was good for people because I always, so as Mrs. Pancake of America, I was on What's My Line. Robert Alda was on there. I think Dorothy Calhoun or Calgar, I forgot her name, Calhoun or whatever. Dorothy Calgarin or Kilgarin or something like that. She left the world. Not prior choice, I don't think. Anyway, so then, getting into, and so as Mrs. Pancake of America, I traveled all around, and I'd come home on the weekend, and my dear friend Mary, she took care of my daughters, and like a governess. It was wonderful. So anyway, after that, then I was studying to become a minister. And so as that then became a television minister. Okay, so then when you start hitting the celebrity level or out in that way, that's when I also noticed a lot of weird stuff happening. And I looked at the men that would come out, that would start going after me, making phone calls to my offices, which I would never return, because who wants to be a notch on somebody's bedpost, or whatever. It's just creepy. And, some of the world leaders, I'd be invited to the banquets and the things, they'd be sitting next to, their hand would be on my leg, or there'd be something else, and you go, this is weird. And then my daughter, Rebecca, Becky, then wanted to do parts in movies, because she's, a person, we were kind of like that. We would just go do things. We do a lot of things. So she wanted to do that. She got a little part in a couple movies. And then she went for this audition for this movie part, and everything was pretty good and all that. So the director or producer, whoever it was choosing, asked her to raise her skirt up to see her thigh. And she said, what does that have to do with whether I get a part or not? And he says, honey, in this town it has everything to do with it. And boy, does it. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of wonderful people. And there's a lot of wonderful people in everything. But there's also in businesses, when people are gatekeepers, when people, and then you get people who are so ambitious to attain whatever they think they want. It's basically prostitution. Because in a sense, when we're selling the physical body somehow for favors or to get something, and I'm not knocking it, I'm not saying criticizing it in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying that's just the way it is. So then when I started noticing all of this and then got up to those levels, and people showing up at my house with a TV camera in my face when I show up in my curlers and jammies, and then going through your trash to find out what they could find in there to then to either exploit you. And I was offered to have an international, everywhere television program that I had at NBC done a pilot for. And they loved it so much. Everybody wanted, but I said I had to give up God, the divine. I had to give up my church. I had to, even though I got, you know what? And the guy who was offering that to me says, and when I said no, he said, you'd make millions. I said, really? See, I've never been about the money. Money, we need it because we're in a money game. We've been in the money game. But I remember years ago when I was reading Walter Russell. He was a lot of people are noticing him again, Walter Russell. In the book, The Man Who Tapped the Secrets of the Universe. So what I got also, and be it my study in metaphysics, was to really understand how this reality operates. And also, more importantly, who we are beyond this reality or any reality, because we are who we are. The divine, the godly, the compassionate, the loving, who we are. And we're not just some blip on a computer screen. And we are not a physical body that goes through and then dies. And all of this attention on the body and sense gratification, and then also you look at when a person gets saturated with, say, even food, but they want even more exotic food, they'll eat weird stuff in a thing. Like, that's why I'm a vegetarian, because I love animals and I protect them. And it's terrible for the body in any way, because it doesn't work. And if a person only knew every choice and every moment, is where are you making it from? From fear, from anger, from resentment, from what you think you're going to get. And yeah, that's the way you want to live your life. You go right that way. But what I've noticed is there's a lot of people who walked away. There's a lot of people who got those levels and they go, this is not for me. This is nasty. And you see some of those early Shirley Temple movies, you're going to be so shocked. It was child porn. And it was going out there for so long. And people that promote then their children, and you see them, they're sexifying their children. And some excuses, well, we'll put them in these movies because they'll have money for college. Really? Really? And I was so happy my daughter Rebecca, she turned away from that whole thing. She could tap dance, sing, she could do anything. And she said, Mom, I really want to be a wife and a mom. That's when she was just 15, 16, taking a walk on the beach in La Jolla when I had my ministry. I said, well, that's right, honey, that'll be what you have. And then she met her husband, Dave. They've been married 33 years. Beautiful daughters, choosing every single moment. What is the quality of your existence? And when we're in the so-called celebrity status, or we're so-called interested in what our body looks like and if other people, everybody's judging anyway when they're in their mind, because they're in their mind and they're not who they are. So why I gave up the celebrity status, and it was so cool then to just walk the world where nobody knew me. It was so cool, to be in India and to wear an old sari and just to be there, and then, because when you start looking, I started looking at what really brought me joy. And it was walking barefooted in nature, in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, and then the world, and the love and the kindness and the creativity. And instead of all about me, see, the greatest joy is in giving. And in recognizing others for who they really are. And the divine beings that people are. And what are the symptoms of a divine being, truly? Because maybe not everybody, maybe there's other species here. But we never realize it, because a real human, not even a human, you could give that addiction up too. These are labels. You're not human either, but you have a human body, but the human body is not an animal body. That's a lie of science. That means, well, you say animals, we could eat animals. What's that mean? Please. So giving up celebrity status was, there are a lot of nasty creeps there. Vicious users, exploiters, liars, just satanic. I mean, anything you could think of, they start creeping out of the woodwork because they want to taste you, see what that one's like. Hey. Whew. You are special. Don't think you're not special. When some teach you, well, you're not special. Yes, you are, and so is everybody. Everyone. And you are a genius. And everyone comes with it. Do you know a chicken comes with every single egg already in it? Did you know a female, when she takes birth, has every egg already there? What comes first, the chicken or the egg? They come together, you see. And so when you start watching and you start looking and you start figuring out, you see, all you have to have is a good PR agent, and you can do anything you want because you're always working with the perceptions of others. So I had the top PR agent. There's Barbara Streisand, there's Frank Sinatra, Gregory Peck, you know, I think he might have been Henry Kissinger. I don't know, but all these people out there, because I thought, well, if I want to be there, I got to do what the other people who were there did. And then I saw how it all operated. And I thought, well, isn't that, it's all about perception. And if you have a good PR agency who'll put you, you'd say to you, how do you want to be perceived? You tell them and they say, okay, then I'll do that for you. You see. So this is what it's about, the mind. And every moment of now is eternal, and is who you are. And you determine the quality of your eternal existence. And all of that out there, you may think is wonderful, but I stood there one day and I said, with all I have and where I am and at the top of the deal and on the magazines, I thought, you know, I'm not really happy. Happy teaching, happy, you know, being with my grandbaby, happy with the, you know, the dog, whatever it is, but all that other stuff, and I thought, you know, this isn't it. This is not it. And I didn't know where I was going or how it was going to happen, but I knew that the divine, the God, the true divine loving, we misuse that word and all that, my precious soulmate, beloved, would guide and direct me. And that's true. So, hey, there's nothing wrong with you. You're beautiful exactly where you are. You don't have to fit somebody else's. You don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be a trillionaire. You don't have to... You already have it all. And right where you are. Because it's you. And it's the happiness you want, the pleasure. And you know, love of the divine is supreme pleasure for the soul. And when you do that, oh my goodness, you can have that right where you are, even if you're in a hospital bed and you're breathing your last breath, my darling. Be right where you are because you're an eternal being. And my love for you is in sharing my own experience. And